All right, hello again, everybody. Welcome to, I think we're up to like our 7th or 8th live stream at this particular point. I certainly cannot believe we've come absolutely this far. You know, this started with basically, oh, let's make a couple videos based on Microsoft Flight Simulator and kind of see how things go out. And of course, next thing you know, we're sitting here with a relatively big channel, and I can't tell you how weird it is to go on Reddit and see like, oh, if you're looking for tutorials, go see this guy. It's an absolutely I can't believe it. It's so weird. Of course, everything's quieted down since when we first started all this, but that's perfectly fine too. So anyway, with enough of that, basically what's going on here is we're going to be experiencing the amphibious aircraft known as the Icon A5. Now, when it comes to airplanes, this is usually one that I don't take out to fly very often. There's a lot of things that make this airplane kind of unique. Well, namely, it's amphibious, but it also has a really interesting history for those of you who like to dig up a little bit of dirt on airplane manufacturers, so to speak. Basically, when this aircraft was first being developed and, they're starting to put together the insurance, they were going to have to put a camera inside the cockpit to make sure people didn't abuse the plane too much. It was just interesting. Of course, they changed their minds. And of course, as you know, this thing is a special order, very, very tricky to get airplane. There's also a couple great things. Howdy, how's it going, everybody? 5,280 feet. Good evening. Nice. It's a mile feet. I like that. But it's not a statue. You know, it's a really, really funny joke about the Mile High Club. Which one of the miles? Does it have to be a grain above ground level? Does it have to be above sea level? But anyway, we've got flying to do today. Okay, so this is an Icon A5. It's basically an amphibious plane. Very straightforward, very easy to operate. I find it a little on the slow side, so I don't fly it too much. But let's go ahead and get this thing started, and we'll take ourselves a nice little flight directly over Vietnam. First of all, I must apologize to all my terrible pronunciations of all the different locations we're going to be flying over today. The reason I chose Vietnam is because it has some wonderful, beautiful islands in which to kind of land our airplane on. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Far Cry, so we'll see some of that in a minute. So first things first, to get this thing rolling, you want to look behind your head. There's a little switch that says fuel. You want to make sure you set that to the on position. Notice, by the way, not only do we have a wing lock to go ahead and basically lift up our wings and fold them up carrier style for putting this on a trailer, we also have a cap system in the event that we need to do that. Leonardo, you must be up very, very late. And by the way, speaking of late, I've had a lot of comments recently saying, can we do this earlier in the day? Our next live stream will be dedicated all to airliners. And we'll do that much, much earlier in the day to let our friends all the way up from Europe to go ahead and kind of do something like that. Okay, let's go ahead and get this thing going. So I'm going to go ahead and flip on the master switch. As soon as we do that, and of course, me flying in the real world, I can't believe the avionics turn on when you turn on the battery switch. That blows my mind a little bit. You don't want to damage these things. They're as expensive as the airplane sometimes. Then all we have to do is now we turn the fuel on. We're going to go ahead and crack the throttle a teeny tiny bit. I'm going to look around and make sure I'm not going to chop anybody up, except for the guy I chop up every single time. I'm going to come down here, flip on my strobe light, flip on my nav light, and that's literally all I need to do. All I'm going to do now is I'm going to come on down here, crank this thing to the start position, go ahead and crank it, and I'm going to go ahead and release it. Now, this is a Rotax 912 engine. This is another one of those little tiny jockeys that basically power every ultralight sport that you can possibly imagine. You'll notice this chap is going to go ahead and get himself in position. Evening, good Jack Shack. I should say cheers. Again, it's getting relatively late, but enjoy what you like here. So for those of you who would like to join us today, we are at Victor, Charlie, India. It's 11 o'clock local time. Our preset weather is set to high clouds. We're going to be doing a lot of landing in the water today. There's an absolutely beautiful section of islands a little bit to our east and north that we're going to be checking out today. Yeah, you don't need to book me back there, Chief. I'm good. Okay, let's go ahead and get this thing going. Once this aircraft gets started, since it is a little Rotax, again, treat it kind of like a gasoline, kind of like a car engine. You don't have to do anything too crazy with it. I'm just going to go ahead and release the parking brakes, give it a little bit of power, and this thing's going to get rolling pretty much right away. Now, when I was reading about this aircraft, I found out quite a few. Oh, looks like we have somebody joining us tonight, sitting over there on our right. One thing that I did find out when I was reading about this aircraft is this interior is basically designed by a car company. So a lot of the gauges and things like that are basically, not space age, but, a little bit more modern, a little bit, well, I don't want to call it classy because in my mind it's not particularly classy. So to take off today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come wander over to the runway. I'm going to be taking a right-hand turn. We're going to basically be taking off straight into that direction. I'll do one circle for anybody who wants to join us, of course. Let me check to make sure the approach is clear. When we take off this aircraft, we want to make sure the landing gear are down, and we are set to flaps 15. Next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to actually set the takeoff trim, which for this aircraft is significantly in the down position. You really need to keep that nose down when you're traveling in this aircraft. And we'll take a look around. Approach is pretty darn clear. Again, normally we want to get permission before we do something silly like this, but hey, we're going to make work with what we got. Look out behind me, see if anybody's sneaking up on me. I can see a few folks that are sneaking up on me already. Taking off is super duper simple. I'm simply going to push the gas pedal all the way forward. Hey, wait, we don't have a gas pedal. We have a throttle. Push the throttle all the way forward, and you might as well go ahead and take a look at your calendar, because this thing is not going to be airborne until at least the next quarter. So kind of keep that in mind, too. Once we get up to about 55 knots, you're going to lift up the nose, and this thing's going to magically start just climbing up in the air very, very gently. As soon as you do so, you're going to want to go ahead and bring up your flaps and your landing gear there. Again, you want to get your speed over 70 before you slap those flaps up. But again, don't be surprised if this aircraft kind of surprises you. Now it's time to start jerking really, 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 really hard on that trim. Even though they tell you the takeoff trim is trimmed down, you can see my final trim position after bringing up the flaps and the gear is about trim neutral. So shame on them for giving us bad information. But hey, we're going to work with what we got. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take a gentle right turn, and as I start taking this right turn towards the lovely islands off the coast of Cat High, I'm going to go ahead and flip on my 3D vision over here on the right-hand side. Yes, this aircraft does have 3D vision on it. Now, you're probably sitting there going, why don't you just leave it on map view? Isn't that easier? Well, the reality is this gives me a much better look at my current speed as well as my current heading. Now, remember, this particular aircraft was designed to basically replace your snowmobile for when you want to go flying. It wasn't designed as, a high-performance, long-range aircraft. This thing is supposed to be like a sports car or like a motorbike or, like I said, like a snowmobile or like an ATV, something along those lines. It's something you're going to want to drive hard and aggressively on some kind of, backwoods trail or something like that. It wasn't designed for the purposes of, I'm going to go from point A to point B. So you're going to notice you're going to be missing a lot of instrumentation that's going to make it a little bit easier to do so. That being said, where we're traveling today, it will not be too difficult to find our destination. I'm going to start heading that direction. I can see I've got some traffic on my 3 o'clock. Looks pretty good to me. Cruise speed on this thing on a good day is right around 96 knots. You can get up to 100 knots depending what you set your power to. Speaking of which, setting the power on this aircraft is tremendously simple. All you do is pull the throttle back until you're out of the yellow, and that's it. Cruise power set. Now, one thing that I will add is once you do set the cruise power the way that you want to, something you're going to want to keep an eye out on is you're going to want to make sure your maneuvering speed is proper here. You'll notice it's 76 knots. For those of you who forgot what maneuvering speed is, basically that's going to be the speed that you're going to be using, that if you exceed it and you do sudden maneuvers like this, you run the risk of snapping bits of the plane off. So obviously you want to make sure you keep yourself within that maneuvering speed if you're doing any aggressive maneuvers. Keep in mind, if you're in any form of turbulence, there's another speed we need to be concerned about, and that's going to be this yellow band right here. We want to make sure we're not in that if we're in turbulence, but as you can see by kind of looking out the window here, we're not too worried about that. Okay, let's start heading out towards our destination today. Now, one of the other reasons I chose Vietnam is originally I was going to do something in actually eastern Russia along the Amur River, this AMUR in case you're curious. I went searching, I did a bunch of flights in and out, I took out the Beech 200, I should say, flew up and down it, tried to find something that kind of made sense. I couldn't find something I really liked. I flew over the Amazon, I went down to Brazil, and I kind of looked around all up and down the tributaries. I found a bunch of really, really neat rivers, which unfortunately Flight Simulator does not make them flat. It makes them kind of do this, if you can see my mouse okay there. And that makes for very, very hazardous flighting. What's a flighting? Hazardous flying when you're moving up and down the upside corners. So I'm sitting there going, that's not going to happen either. So when I did see a Google wallpaper, which had a beautiful picture of the area directly over where we're going to be flying in just a few minutes, this overhang day in case you're curious, I said, that's it. That's going to be the place that we're going to be doing our flying today. So I immediately built a flight plan, grabbed my little Amphibious A5, and started heading out there. Having flown over here last time in X-Plane, it looks quite a bit different in Flight Simulator than it does over in X-Plane as well. Okay, let's go ahead and get this plane all nice and trimmed down. There are no mixture controls on this airplane anywhere. Basically, again, you're using this plane kind of like a sports car. You're going to be bringing it into danger spots. Imagine you had like an airboat or you had like a speedboat or something like that, and I want to kind of go ripping around real quick with this thing. Kind of get nice and aggressive, going in and out of really nasty spots, bringing it to altitudes much too low for what we're supposed to. Speaking of altitudes, check out the altimeter on this thing. Yeah, that bothers me on so many levels. It's, ouch. All right, I'm going to take a look out the back and see if anybody's joining us today. I know I just saw a couple just a moment ago. I see 1, 2, okay. Quiet night, but I had a feeling it was going to be pretty quiet. And over here in the States, we just had our Thanksgiving holiday, which is, it's a pretty busy time of year. And of course, obviously with the coronavirus and everything like that, things have been kind of interesting for it. So basically, this is what we're going to be looking at here. Is we're going to kind of be cruising along this. It's pretty quiet. This is a very, very large industrial district. This is the Haiphong port, for those of you who are interested in it. Over during the Vietnam War, this was a very, very popular place to drop an awful lot of water mines in order to basically disrupt shipping into this particular area. And unfortunately, after the war was over, they actually made a really, really good effort. I think it was called Operation Clean Sweep. They actually come in here and provide minesweeping equipment to get some of the mines back out. But again, fortunately for us today, we don't have to worry about any of that. We're just going to be worrying about flying to our destination. Now, one of the things that I look at when I kind of look over this place is, it's pretty flat, pretty industrial. But when we get here, it's going to remind you something right out of Far Cry 3. I'm going to go ahead and take a quick peek behind us real quick. I see we got a couple folks. We'll be slowing down and landing in the water in just a moment. And getting a little bit of that burble, that distinctive turbulence you get when you fly over certain types of land. And we'll talk about landing on water once we get a little bit closer to where we're actually going to start landing. Probably going to be doing 3 or 4 landings before we actually get to the end today. Oh, this is nice. This is definitely a different part of Vietnam from the part of Vietnam people probably remember from video games. When you think of the Vietnam from video games, talking about the Trang Valley and stuff like that, where everything is nothing but rice paddy and jungle. In this section, you definitely have a lush character to everything, but it's also a little bit flatter and it's a little bit more spread out as well. Okay, we're crossing over water. Now, this is going to sound kind of funny, and this is how you can tell the difference between real-world pilots and sim pilots, is flying over water when you only have a single engine hanging off the back of your plane makes me tremendously nervous. If I lose this engine, I'm going swimming. Like, there's no way around it. Of course, you're sitting there going, well, you're in an amphibious plane, so it really should make that much of a difference. And really, it doesn't, but it doesn't stop you from basically feeling like the engine's going to automatic rough. Like, at any moment, you're waiting for that engine to cut out of you, and you're going to be sitting there going, okay, how am I going to land in the water? Fun fact, too, for those of you who have fixed landing gear, like you're on a Cessna 172 or a Cessna 182, landing in water is bad because when you do so, the plane tends to do a front flip. Because what will happen is your back wheels will catch. Suddenly, the plane will dip straight down face first in the water, and the whole plane will go, topsy-turvy, basically, on you, knocking you into a really, really nasty spot. Planes like this, obviously, were designed to land in the water, and which we're going to be doing in just a minute. As a matter of fact, I already see where we're going to be doing our first landing today. I'm going to go ahead and use gentle rudder pressure. Looking down, I'm noticing I've already used a considerable amount of fuel. I'm already getting down to my first gallon, and I haven't really done anything yet. All right, that's looking pretty good. I'm aiming basically for this spot right here. Wait, and you see these beautiful islands on the other side of this. For those of you who saw the little screenshot I did earlier for the preview of this, you probably noticed that there's a lot of folks I was sitting there right in the corner with all these neat islands around me, and we'll be taking a look at that. Okay, let's go ahead and start losing a little bit of altitude to go ahead and prepare for our landing. Again, we're going to be landing on the opposite side of this structure. This is Hang Day, by the way, Hangde. All right, slow down just a little bit. Again, this aircraft, we want to be tremendously careful not to overspeed it. As they always say, you can either be a good airplane or you can be a good boat, but you can't be both. No joke. A few years ago, for those of you who do know your airplane ridiculous trivia, I'm probably familiar with the Terrafuga, which was an effort to make a flying car. One of the local air shows that we were actually at brought this thing in, and I remember looking at it going, how does that thing even fly? The top speed on it was not great, but at the same time, not too bad. Okay, let's go ahead and start thinking about our landing here. Does this not remind you of something from Far Cry 3? I would absolutely love to visit this country, and someday I bet you I will. All right, looking pretty good. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop right over the top of this little nasty set of mountains. We're going to land on the side. So the first thing we need to do when we're doing a water landing is we need to figure out which way the surf is going. When I look straight down like this, I'm looking very, very, very carefully. It looks like the waves are basically coming from the west. The waves themselves are not terribly large. Last thing in the universe you want to do when you land a float plane or an amphibious plane is to land across the waves. If you do that, you're going to get toppled like this when the wave catches you. So what you really want to do is go right into them just like you're landing. And another really, really, really important tip here is you've got to keep your speed under control. If you hit that water too fast, you're going to porpoise really bad. All right, start slowing down. Go ahead and take a look at my window. There's a really nice looking cove down there. I'm kind of looking at the likes of that real quick. This aircraft has got funky flap speeds, basically 75 or less. I'm actually going to put both my notches down. One thing you do not want to do is land with your water rudder in position. It's on the up position, and you want to make sure your landing gear are up, not down. Okay, let's go ahead and start drifting downwards. Remember, the wind is going to be coming pretty much behind me at this particular point. But that's okay, because we have tons and tons and tons of room. As long as I'm not doing a north or south trajectory, I'm not too concerned with this. Just look at this. Could you imagine just like being a part of this in the real world? Just so incredibly untouched. It's just, it's amazing. Okay, let's land this thing. So again, normally we want to be landing into the wind. We're actually landing with the wind, but given that the wind is only 1 knot, I'm not really concerned about that at this time. To land this plane, of course, whenever you do water, you always have to treat the water as a big, scary optical illusion. It's basically there to confuse you. And as I'm flying down towards it, it really looks like the water's kind of coming towards us. The trick here is to basically keep your approach speed going until you feel a gigantic splash. Having landed a float plane, actually been in a landing float plane in the real world, I can tell you when this happens, it literally sucks you into the water like a giant vacuum cleaner. So basically you do this, wait for the splash, and that's it. In the real world, the moment you hit that water, the whole plane goes whoosh and basically dips down just like I just simulated with my joystick there. As soon as you're down, I'm going to go ahead and pull back nice and gently. We're going to ride on the step of this aircraft just a little bit. Looks like I just cut past. Not too bad. I'm going to flip my flaps up. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab my water rudder and go ahead and engage it. Water rudder on this little airplane is this little teeny tiny little stick right here that kind of hangs off the back. You can see it right here very distinctively, and it mostly works. You just got to remember to disengage it before you take back off again. I instinctively went ahead and held down on the brake key, really expecting this thing to stop suddenly, and it didn't. The one thing I'm really missing is I'm not hearing the kind of a sound as you're kind of just bobbing up and down in the water like this. I'm going to pull the controls back just a teeny tiny bit. I can see some circling around, and the whole plane will get just the right speed and it'll sink deep into the water. I'm just going to sit here for just a minute. Hey, look what I just did. All right, looking around, looks pretty darn good. I'll wait till everybody kind of catches back up to me. I've never seen this many Icon A5s in one place before. This is great. Folks, we're all going to be taking off again in just about 10 seconds. All right, let's get ready for takeoff. First thing we're going to want to do is we're going to slap up. Actually, we're going to leave the water rudder down. My apologies. And we're simply going to go ahead and turn this plane in a position where we're actually going to be able to take advantage of the wind. Remember, the wind is coming direct behind us. So with the water rudder in position, I'm just going to give the thing a nice, gentle little tap. Get us rolling around basically in a big old circle here so that I can come across the wind. And now we're basically going to take off directly into that direction. I've never seen so many icons in one place. I'm going to go ahead and put the flaps in 15 degrees, slap up the water rudder, push the throttle all the way forward, and now this is where water planes are different than land planes. What you want to do is you want to pull all the way back on the controls. What you're trying to do is get the plane up on this little teeny tiny piece of float piece called a step. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to hold down on that step until the aircraft starts to come loose. See how it's just on this little tiny notch, and then it'll come up on its own very gently. That's the trick. You know, there's really nothing else to it. If you can learn that, you're going to be able to do float planes pretty much forever. Go ahead and slap up that notch of flaps. We're then going to do a very dangerous turn here. Obviously, we're sitting here right on the edge of running out of power, and that's going to be our first little landing today. We're going to go be doing some more landing in just a few minutes. Bye-bye. Oh, man. I'd be really concerned with bird strikes about right now. Flight following. Go ahead and spin ourselves around quite nicely. Oh, this is so cool. It's right out of Far Cry. I'm sorry, I got to stop saying that. But that's literally what it reminds me of. Oh, look at this cool picture with everybody in the water. And now we have our picture. Let me go ahead and come by this guy. Nice. Thanks, folks. All right, let's get going. Now imagine owning a boat in a place like this, where everything is its own private little island. You can see there's a whole little fishing fleet down there and everything like that. It's just amazing. So we'll go ahead and proceed down in this general direction for just a teeny tiny bit. And then we're going to go ahead and try to put this thing down in the water one more time, just for principle here. Go ahead and pull myself, keep that nose up just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of zigzagging here. All right, that looks dangerous because I just saw a big thing of green suddenly appear. Bring those flaps all the way in, and we're just going to repeat the exact same process one more time. Remember, we have a tailwind right now, not a headwind. Don't push the plane into the water. Just hold it level until you hear the kush-blush. All right, slow down nice and easy. Again, the water's an optical illusion. Trust that the plane will sink into the water on its own. Don't force it. There it is. All right, go ahead and bring that one notch of flaps. I'm going to give it full power. And we're simply going to bring it right up. Fontana 101 mentions the fact that it's a flying Sea-Doo. You are completely correct. That is literally what this plane was supposed to be when it came out. And again, there's quite a few folks who still fly this planes, and its accident record is still a little on the incomplete side, but that'll change with time. All right, let's go ahead and collect everybody who's kind of come behind me. I like that little danger warning. That's kind of a nice touch. 6 miles east of All right, you can see everybody's doing a little splish splash. I love it. I'm just doing a gentle little turn, and then I'm going to go ahead and bring ourselves back in the opposite direction. By the way, those of you who are looking to have a little bit of fun like this, as far as, you know, kind of experimenting on public servers, remember that the minimum altitude is always going to be 500 feet. Obviously, it's going to be 800 feet if there are people nearby. Now to see a slightly different side of things. So you got all these beautiful islands, and I can't recommend this enough to go ahead and experiment with this aircraft on as many of these islands as you possibly can. Definitely check it out. But we're going to go ahead and do this. Julius, guten Tag. I should say guten Nacht. Sorry. Let's see, explaining VATSIM. VATSIM is that's a tutorial series. I could probably spend all the videos I did this year just dedicated to that, because that is an unbelievable experience for those of you who have not yet tried that. For those of you who are brand new to all these things, basically VATSIM is an online network for flying air traffic control. Again, volunteers provide the air traffic control. You're just responsible to follow the directions as best as you can. It's intense, and every time I do it, even though I've flown with real world air traffic control, it still makes me nervous, because the moment you put your finger on that radio button and you press to transmit, of course everything's going to be going, the whole world's going to be looking at you, and you're going to be being recorded, and it's all going to be unbelievably intense. Okay, let's go ahead and proceed in this general direction. I'm going to go ahead and get my RPM to back to 5,500. By the way, the POH in this aircraft says that you can go as far down as 4,500 without any difficulty as far as speed or anything like that goes. I can see that folks are starting to catch up behind me. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 now. Okay, we're slowly starting to accumulate more. Don't worry, we'll be landing in the water quite a few more times. We're not done yet today. Again, 500 feet's a pretty good minimum here. Directly on my left, this is going to be, I'm going to say about 10 o'clock or so. This is Hong Ha, or Hong Helong. Again, my pronunciation is absolutely garbage. Again, apologies. I love to visit this country, but the language is absolutely terrifying for me. I've got a comment from Mehmet. Absolutely. Thank you so much, man. Oh, that's so cool. Julius just told us that he is a real-world sailplane pilot. Gliders are amazing. Absolutely amazing. It's just so quiet, hurts my feeling. Oh, hi, Ellie. We are currently right south of Ha Long. This is in Vietnam. If you're looking for an airport, Victor, Charlie, India. Usually I'm not difficult to find because I have like the 15 people following me around right now. If anything, I better do a donut real quick and let everybody kind of catch up to us real quickly. Go ahead and set this thing down in the water again real one time. This time we'll actually land roughly in the correct direction. 1 mile says that he used to live in Hanoi. Oh, man. I want to visit Vietnam so much. They have an amazing cuisine, amazing culture. It's a beautiful country. It's a little warm. I'm well aware of that. And I originally was born in a much warmer part of the United States, and I've since then kind of migrated up north. And I picked up their fast talking, but I've never quite picked up their ability to tolerate cold temperatures. But, that is what it is, kind of a thing. All right, I'm going to let everybody get caught up real quick. Lift the nose up. Go ahead and drop those flaps again. Again, you want to be landing into the wind. I'm landing with the wind, but it's only 1 knot, so I'm not too worried about it. Just trying to give everybody a chance to kind of get caught up here. Again, don't push the plane into the water. Just let the plane sink. And like I said, in the real world, you're going to land right on the step. And then you can pull back just a tiny bit, and I swear, it's just something that goes whoa, like that. And all of a sudden, you're completely in the way. Yeah, that was dangerous. And again, it's just going to suck the water you down right into it, and then you'll be very successful. All right, let's bring up the flaps, give it full power. Again, I just wanted to give everybody a moment to catch up. Again, you want to hold yourself on the step. If the plane's vibrating funny, it means you're almost there. As it starts to lift the nose, you have to push your controls forward just a teeny tiny bit. And off we go one more time. Ellie asks, what is the heading from Victor, Charlie, India? You're going to be doing 70 magnetic. Again, it won't be difficult to find us. We're just follow the noise. Ironically, the way we're flying this plane right now was what they wanted people to do with it. They wanted people basically to be goofing around. Look at this. This is so amazing. Every time we do this, it melts my heart just a teeny tiny bit. Encourages me to keep going.
Request flight following.
All right, just look at this. There's a beautiful... Uh-oh. Okay, never mind. Don't look at that. But there's a really, really nice Google background for those of you who have Chromecast that literally show this island right here. I just thought that would be kind of cool. One of these days, of course, we have to go fly up to Cannon Beach, which is in Washington State. Oregon? No, I'm sorry, it's in Oregon State in the United States. It's on the West Coast. It has a very, very distinctive rock, which some folks might recognize from the Goonies. It's also a really, really neat flight because if you take it out of Portland, you basically go flat, flat, mountain, 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 beach. And it's just absolutely intense. I'm kind of doing like this. Julius is commenting about the water physics. Yeah, there's a couple things that I really wish that they'd take some time to do. Again, I'm not going to rant because I'm loving this program and I think it was absolutely great. It was worth the 110, 120 bucks that I actually spent on it. So I'm not really complaining too much, but especially with the avionics, it's killing me just a little bit. Coming up this week, for those of you who like to follow my kind of daily stuff, you're going to be getting some things on basically this plane that's going to be earlier in the week, and you're going to get an entire series based on flying airliners. It's more of an overview than it's anything particularly intense, but I know some people were asking about that. And again, I'll be asking in a poll next week, I think, probably Monday or maybe even Sunday, basically asking where you folks would like us to go next. You know, we've gotten in a really, really good spot together, and it'd be kind of nice to continue it as well. All right. This is so amazing. Yeah, I'd definitely be terrified of birds, though. Now, there's something very interesting that we're actually going to be flying over. I'm actually going to point this out as we get a little bit closer. I'm actually going to kind of go off course a little bit here. I did just practice this flight, so I'm doing everything completely by the seat of my pants, using pilotage and everything like that. I'm not doing any fancy calculations. This plane was not meant for that. This plane was meant to get in and just go. And that's, again, sometimes that's kind of relaxing. I'm looking out the window. Looks like we got a couple folks coming up on me directly. Everything's looking pretty good. Looking out the window. Absolutely solid. All right, so somebody's commenting landing practice in St. Bartholomew. I'm still debating where exactly I want to fly for our airliners. Because the next time we do a live stream, I want everybody in an airliner. Because, you know, you don't usually use airliners for the purposes of, you know, cruising around in formation like we typically do. And it's going to be very, very interesting to kind of do it. So I'd love to do something in the Caribbean. I know that area pretty well. I've been there quite a few times, both in the flight simulator as well as the real world. So it seems like a pretty good choice. The other places I'm looking in, especially like the Andes, you know, I love South America. We haven't done anything in Africa yet. I feel kind of bad about that, so it might be worth doing that as well as New Zealand, which someday I'll get to visit, but I've done Australia, and that's a lot of fun too. All right, let's go ahead and start heading in this general direction. Kind of keeping an eye on our clock here. I don't want to be going too late with anybody. I know it's pretty late for some folks over in Europe right now. Again, flying this plane, not too difficult. One thing I gotta say, though, is it's not very sensitive. You know, I'd expect an aircraft that doesn't weigh much. Again, this is barely a light sport airplane to be a little bit more sensitive, but this one just doesn't do that. I'm gonna go ahead and speed up just a little bit, kind of cruising nice and gently. Now, you're probably going, so where are you taking us here? And there's something I want to share with you, which I just thought was really, really wild. When I was originally doing things with a little bit of research for this video, I found this on the chart, and I just couldn't figure out what the heck it was. I had to actually go on Google Earth a little later on. Turns out this is one of the larger mines. It's called the Kong Tai Tan Ha Long Mine, and it's actually a surface mine, and it's kind of neat to fly over. We're just kind of cruise along in this general direction, and we're just going to hit that up, and we're going to find a nice little brigade. Julius points out Patagonia. Yeah, absolutely. I love the islands like Fiji. I really want to do something with Guam on account of the fact that, or I should say Saipan, more so than Guam, because we're going to be seeing that in DCS relatively shortly as well. All right, looks like people are starting to catch up to me. I guess I'm not going fast enough, but again, I'm trying to keep it safe here. 2,000 feet's pretty high up for this plane, but again, notice we don't exactly have a precise meter 4 feet. I could always come over here and flip on map mode as well as if I wanted to. All right, kind of come through. Some comment. Insanity's commenting. Lots of people in 7.4s. Yeah. I'm going to fly the 787. I'm just going to say this in advance. Unfortunately, there's something with the 787. I have a very powerful computer, and it still lags me. So I don't know what it is, but it does have the heads-up display, and that's quite awesome. And obviously, when they finally do decide to release VR for FS2020, you can expect to see me tooling around doing some dangerous stuff with that as well. Because VR is amazing, and it's why I keep going back to X-Plane also. Oh boy. Hey, now we're getting some folks. I can do a really mean trick to everybody, but I'm not going to because I'm a nice guy. Well, what I should do is be a nice, reliable direction finder here, pathfinder. I really wish these had some modified types of navigation, things like LORAN or things like satellite navigation. And there's everybody else down there as well. Barnaby points out the last time they flew, the G1000 broke. We don't have a G1000 in this version, but this is a G3X. So it's decent. Okay, so if you remember a minute ago, I was talking about that mine. So if you actually take directly ahead of us, if you're wondering what all this structure is, and again, I couldn't figure this out for the life of me the first time I flew down here. And this all basically is one giant surface mine. And if you actually take a look out the window, you can see where all the teeny tiny little roads are. You can see where the little mining buildings are. You can see where everything else like that is. Whoop, excuse me for the beep. That was the real world's version of a stall warning. Let's take a look here. Somebody's saying VR update. Jack, yeah, I have absolutely no idea. I know that they're working with the reverb, I should say the G2, I think it is. So there's a special group of people, and they never asked me, of course, but they won't ask me anyway for that kind of a thing. Okay, so this is the mine. It's absolutely massive. And again, this is the Kong Tai Tan Han Long. December 23rd for VR. That would be amazing. We'll have to do a special live stream. All right, check this out. And again, I know we're here to look at the islands, but it's just so cool. You can see each one of the little cuts through the mountain range. It's just awesome. Okay, let's go ahead and bring this thing into a nice safe landing now. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and swing this general direction. Looking pretty good, looking pretty good. All right, let's go ahead and straighten out real quickly here. Okay, taking a look at my power. I need to come back up to 5,500. All right, Maxime is mentioning it's coming in December. Definitely not sure the date. I haven't seen anybody do any preview work on VR in flight sims. Let's see here. VR, flight sim. Yeah. One of the things I like about this platform more than X-Plane as far as VR would go is the fact that everything just looks really, 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 really good. And the performance is actually pretty darn good unless you're in the 787, in which case the avionics are absolutely going to melt you. There's just something about that just kills this computer. All right, let's take a look. Oh, we've got a pretty good collection of people now. Here's a really fun trick to do, by the way. Let's see if they can figure out how that one works. Yeah, you gotta put a button on your joystick for that, by the way. Yeah, look what they did to the jungle here. This is just wild. Okay, let's go ahead and do some landing. Now, the interesting thing is there's a Sanbei Van Elon, which is actually a airport that is located directly to our left side here. It's probably about 11 o'clock. Now, the neat thing about this airport is the airport exists in the real world. It does not exist on the simulator. So, unfortunately for us, we're going to be landing on something that's not considered to be sanctioned. Oh, geez, somebody's correcting my absolutely terrible Vietnamese there. Sorry. All right, got to go ahead and swing this way. Okay, so looking right over my 11 o'clock or so. I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit so you can get a pretty good look at it. There's actually an airstrip coming right in here. Julius mentions that one of the best methods to improve performance is to reduce the refresh rate of the displays. To be honest, reducing that has not done anything for me. When I dropped it to low, you get like 3 or 4 frames, but it's not a big enough difference to warrant it, and I really, really enjoy it. Okay, somebody just commented that they got their G2. That's super duper exciting. It's definitely something to look at. I got a Rift S, which has worked great for me. I can play cricket in it, no problem, so I'm not too worried about it. All right, so basically what we're hoping to find is a runway right in here. So we'll see exactly what happens. We'll go ahead and start losing a little bit of altitude. Somebody's commenting that slew mode is very dangerous in VR. I don't know about that. I really like flying aircraft like this, especially in DCS, because you can play VR, and you can get those aircraft going pretty darn fast, especially with time acceleration. It doesn't bother me too much. All right, coming down this way, and we're going to start lining up this way. Again, we want to keep you very cautious with this aircraft. Every time we spend time in yellow, I always feel like I'm going to do damage to the darn thing. All right, come down nice and low. Oh, yeah, Maxine points out the fact we need binoculars in VR. Oh, my God. That's the tab button for me in any game that's VR. Just whoop, and away we go, kind of a thing. All right, let's see if we can find this airport. I am super curious to see if we can find it. Again, there's our lovely mine there. Coming in pretty nice. We've got to hang out to the right just a teeny tiny bit more. Okay, so a couple more comments on, of course, the amphibious aircraft. One thing that kills me about this plane a little bit is its speed. Like, I really don't feel like I'm ever going to be going really, really long distances in this airplane. But for those of you who want to learn a little bit about how to kind of go distances with it, one thing I do recommend is using our G3X here. If you go to Map, there's a neat little flight plan button down here in the bottom corner that you can actually dial in where you're starting, where you want to go, and kind of how you want to get there. So, for example, if I wanted to say VVCI, which is where we started, Victor, Victor, Charlie, India, and kind of here, let's say I want to go for a really, really, really long flight today. I want to do something like go all the way to VVNB or something like that. I could just come in here and do VVNV, Victor, Victor, November, Bravo, press enter, whoop, just like that. It will automatically generate that particular plan. Press the done button, and we are good to go. I can go ahead and shut that off. Main menu, and now I've done it. There it goes. And now if I zoom out just a little bit, zoom out just a teeny tiny bit, you'll actually see that it projects that line on there just like it should. Okay, now we should be lined up for that imaginary airport. Oh no, somebody broke up their airplane in excessive G-forces. You gotta watch those descents, folks. Alright, kind of swinging around this way. Again, this airport should be directly ahead of us if my calculations are correct. I've been known to be completely wrong on these things many, many times in the past, so I would not be surprised if it does not look the way it's supposed to look as we're kind of swinging down here. Go ahead and zoom in just a teeny tiny bit. Yep, that doesn't look anything like the airport. You can actually see the outline of where the airport itself should be, and you can actually make out a teeny tiny little bit of road here, which is where the main runway would be as well. So I find that kind of funny that detail is correct, but the rest of the detail is not correct. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and bring ourselves around, and we're going to go find a nice soft island to go smacking into at high speed here. So Rosinski points out the fact that Fortunate Son isn't playing. If we ever get something Vietnam related, like an F4 Phantom or something like that, I will happily go ahead and pretend to whistle that while going ahead and doing the rest of it. Okay, we're the west of the turrets. Open bomb bay. It depends on what aircraft you're using. Unfortunately, I'm a huge Thud fan, and we did have a bomb bay and a Thud, but that would be the bottom left switch. We actually have one of those at our Air Museum. Why isn't the airplane there, right? That's a great question. I think Microsoft has abandoned us as far as trying to find where that airport goes. But that's okay. We're a water plane. We're going to find something nice and soft to land on anyway. And I'll show you a great way to destroy your airplane in just a minute as well. All right, line ourselves up this way. I want to kind of see our happy little crowd behind us. That is amazing. That is the most Icon A5s ever in one place ever. Love it. Now, if you really want to have some fun, if you go onto the internet, on Google Images specifically, and you type in Fortunate Son Switch Huey, I think it'll be a pretty good giggle. I'm not going to call it up, obviously, because I don't want to make the YouTube gods unhappy or anything along those lines. All right, cruising along pretty nice here. We're going to go find ourselves a nice one. Insanity Fleet points out the fact that a Beaver would be a great addition. I've always wanted to fly that aircraft in VR. We actually had one at the Air Museum, and that airplane is way bigger than you think it is. Like, even with the really, really powerful Wasp engine, it's just amazing. Let's see, Heavy Vlogs mentions the fact he's never played FS2020 before. The big thing I want to say with that is it's not too bad. I've enjoyed it. I love flying around where I live and actually being able to identify like the different waypoints and stuff like that. That's amazing. Luca points out the fact it'd be nice to get some World War II planes. World War II planes are interesting. Honestly, if I had to pick an era, I love 50s and 60s jets. They're still at the point where you still get to control the plane directly, but they're not very well refined compared to jets later on, like an F-15 or F-16, where everything is computer controlled. You really had to know what you're doing or you could get yourself in an enormous amount of trouble. That seemed kind of dangerous. That's great. All right, let's go ahead and find a plaything. Somebody comments the fact that they can hear the trees talking. That's either an LSD reference or it's something like from, what was that show back in the early 90s? It was one of the Jim Henson ones. Oh, Fraggle Rock. That's the one I was looking for. There it is. Something like that. Either way. All right, I'm going to go ahead and find. That is an amazing picture right there. Boop. Yeah, I wouldn't mind civil airplanes. Honestly, most of my time, if I'm not flying something obscure helicopter over in DCS, I'm usually sticking to something like this. I really am dying for them to go ahead and release like a really, really nice, complicated airliner for me just to figure out. Oh, Maxime went ahead and found it. Now, see, I teach high school, so like normally I say, all right, Maxime, why don't you tell us the class which you've discovered? And I think he did a pretty good job of discovering that on his own, so I don't need to comment on it. And of course, folks who are going to watch this on a replay later on. Okay, now it's time for our little finale here. All right, so there's a series of really, really small islands here. You can kind of see them built over here on our left. Your task is to try to land on one of them and then drive your aircraft onto the beach. So folks of you who have damage turned on, you're doomed. Folks who do not have damage turned on, you should be perfectly fine with this. So I'm going to go ahead and bring myself around. Barnaby comments that. ME-262, oh man, that airplane is too much airplane. It's just, it's a lot of airplane. And I've made that comment before, but like things like that are like a Lockheed Constellation, that's a lot of airplane. All right, making my way down here to the water. Okay, make sure that your landing gear are in the up position. Make sure your flaps are down. Make sure your water rudder's up. All right, let's see here. Well, who's going to be our lucky island that we're going to try to gently taxi up to? Again, I don't want to go on too long. Oh, just got passed again. Helicopters are 2022? Oh no. Oh my god, I love rotors. It's one of those things where when you first try to fly a helicopter in a flight simulator, it's the worst experience you've ever had. It's literally like a nightmare on top of another nightmare with a nightmare on top of it. But if you really put in, like I'm not even joking, 50 or 60 hours into trying to get them, and you get yourself a decent joystick and a decent set of pedals, you'd be amazed what you can do with these helicopters. Like, especially in VR, it's just like you breathe on the controls and the helicopter goes. It's not like anything else. All right, let's go ahead and put this thing down in the water. I'm going to try to get myself up on the beach. I'm trying to find a beach that actually looks like I can get myself up on. Yeah, that looks pretty good straight ahead. Coming around this direction, looks pretty good. Yeah, really the best helicopter sim I got out there, other than DCS, is X-Plane. They do a really nice job of helicopters. And they have VR, which is like double points. But again, we're a flight sim channel, so anything goes. All right, same procedure as before. Basically, we're going to let the plane crash into the water as gently as possible. You don't need to flare. Yeah, I've actually got one lesson total in a helicopter. And I can tell you, it is like no experience you've ever experienced in the air before. Basically, like, it just goes. Like, it's not like an airplane that there's like a delay and like it takes time to like line things up. The plane, whoa, God. Duck, where? All right, engage the water rudder. I know it's going a little too fast for the water rudder, but I want to try to do this as gently as possible. All right, come swing us around. Oh, let's go ahead and... Oh, he bounced it. Too fast. All right, see my beach? All right, he comments about guerrillas with AKs. I think they're past that at this point. Honestly, the folks in Vietnam are not too different than you and I. All right, taking a look. Oh, I don't think this is going to work. I'm going to try. Oh, man, this is going to go so poor. Oh, looks like somebody got it to work. All right, easy. All right, can we do it? I'm going to wait till everybody gets here before I actually try this. All right, who remembered to bring the six-pack? Oh, yeah, it's the bottle of the throttle. That's right. Oh, man, I don't feel cool about this at all. All right, can I do it? Can I do it? I don't know. This is going to end really badly. All right, hang on just a second before I ruin everything for myself here. Flight model. Actually, that's not what I want. I'm going to go over here to assistance. Where's damage? Damage, crash damage. Off. Oh, visual only. Beep. Okay, that way I don't ruin the aircraft this time. Okay, here we go. All right, nice and easy. Easy. Oh my god, this airplane is way too expensive to try to beach. Keep in mind, after we beach it, we can't get it off the beach. Easy. Oh no, here we go. Beach. Yes! Oh man, that is great. Okay, let's see how many people we can get for our picture today. I'll zoom out a little bit so we can get a pretty good shot. One of these days, I'm going to figure out exactly how the drone button actually works, so that I can actually do these like really, really, really nice shots here. All right, taking a look around real quickly. I think this is probably going to be our shot right here. This is amazing. This is exactly the kind of stuff that the folks over at Flight Simulator wanted us to be doing with their extremely expensive project here. I'm going to wait until this guy gets a little bit closer, and then we'll go ahead and take our snapshot. We'll also bring up the flaps so it looks a little bit more normal here. All right, looks pretty good, looks pretty good. It's looking pretty good, I like that. Okay, I think we're going to be doing some fishing and hanging out at the boat. Okay, so that about concludes it as far as what we're going to be doing with this aircraft today. Of course, what we could do is fly all the way back. Yeah, exactly. You got to catch the fish that you're going to barbecue, though. Basically, what I was going to do is fly all the way back, but it's a bit of a long flight, so of course I don't want to use anybody's time that doesn't need to be used. Somebody's commenting about that. So, oh no, this is a much better picture. I'm taking this picture instead. That's so great. See, what I really want to do is test to see if I press the G key to the landing gear come down and let me actually beach this thing. Because if they do, that'd be pretty amazing, because then I can actually just stick it up on the ground. You gonna let me do it? No, my landing gear is stuck on the ground now. I'm trying. That's not gonna happen. Okay, so as usual, I always like to open it up to see if there's anybody has any comments or any sort of questions. I'm looking for new ideas as far as content goes, because we're hitting the point where we'll just about be finishing our Flight Simulator series as far as navigation goes, and obviously we're going to be looking at seeing what else we can do with some airliner stuff. If there's anything that you folks are interested in as far as new videos, feel free to toss them up on the chat. If you have any other questions, I'll kind of hang around for a couple minutes to do a little bit of a QA as far as oh geez, that guy's going real fast now. I'll do some QA if you folks have any questions about anything, whether this aircraft, the Flight Simulator in general. Again, I'll hang out for a minute. Otherwise, exactly, cook the fish using the engine bay. Otherwise, I'll hang out a couple minutes, and then we'll kind of call it relatively short. But again, there's not a lot to this airplane, so I don't want to go too crazy. What a great shot, though. Okay, so Heavy Vlogs asks, what kind of joystick or joystick do you fly with? Okay, I've got a lot of things here. I've got a Thrustmaster TWCS for my throttle. I actually bought the expensive $35 Grace. Completely worth it. I would use the print screen key, by the way. My joystick is a Gunfighter. This is a VKB product. It is a crazy boutique joystick. It is $400, but I cannot believe how amazing it makes flying helicopters. On my feet, I have some, we gotta look down at my feet, see what they are. They're combat stick. I think the Thrustmaster combat ones. Let's see what else we got here. Key to take pictures, print screen, crash icon into the forest. Piper Pilot asked for me to crash. Obviously, I'm not going to nod. I'm going to go for it. Why not? I'll go ahead and turn damage back on here. Put it on hard difficulty. Looks much better. Apply and save. Let's see what other questions here. Joystick, take a picture, crash icon, go to the WTC. I'm not sure what you're going. I assume you're saying World Trade Center, Luca. Bring the landing gear. I tried that and I got quite stuck. Series on tail draggers and bush flagging. That would be amazing. I've done stuff like that in the past, but again, we can take a look back to it. Spawn somewhere random and try to figure out where you are. I had a really cool idea of a live stream, Barnaby, where we basically, you'd tell me where to start and where to go, and I'd actually VFR for you, literally in real time, where I'd walk through my whole flight plan, work through all my things, and actually do the flight together to see kind of what I do in the real world. Let's see, other questions. Luca is asking about, can you play War Thunder? Oh, no. I'm sorry, Luca. I'm so sorry. Unless it does a manual like Jane's, it's not my thing. I apologize, though. Somebody's asking about multi-engine tutorials. That's a great series, especially with the Beech 58. I would say the G58. That is an absolutely solid plane for that. And I really wish we had a Cessna 340 because that's awesome. Let's see, Barnaby Key, VOR, absolutely. It's not too bad. Sam Sargent's asking about drug running in South America. Yeah, I love the idea of a search and rescue, actually. That was something I worked out. I can't figure out what I'm going to be doing while everybody tries to find me. Let's see here. Great stream. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Like I said, I tried to keep it super simple today. Thanks, Heavy Vlogs. Get me demonetized. What system I'm using? I've got a lot. It's a 10 series. It's a 10850K. It's an Intel. I have 32 gigs of RAM. It's a GeForce 3080. It's one of the nice ones. Liquid cooled, all that other kind of good stuff. Let's see here. Reading down. Rylus mentioned jets in the Alps. I love Laui, but it's also an incredibly busy airport because everybody goes there because of X-Plane. That being said, it wouldn't be a bad idea for an airliner show. Let's see what else. Somebody's asked me what system. I think I've answered that question. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hang out for another few moments. If I don't get any more comments, we'll go ahead and call it. A little shorter today, but again, folks are going to be watching this later on too, and I want to give it. Next live stream will be 2 weeks away, so you better learn how to fly a jet between now and then. I'll have some videos on flying jets coming up this week, and obviously I'll be coming up with some neat ideas as far as what we should be coming for. And look out for a poll. Otherwise, I'll hold on to 15 seconds, and then we'll call it a day. Stunt planes are a lot of fun, yes. Somebody asked about the Diamond 62. Ha, there's Ellie's airplane. All right, hold on another few seconds to see if anybody else joins us. Yeah, I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm trying to do the best I can. I've gone from like 3,000 people in video to like 800, so things are getting a little quiet. Canyon Run, that could be a lot of fun. I know exactly where to do that too. And we did something like that before. Pod racing. Now that's what I call pod racing. Oh, please. All right, hold on a few more moments. Now, let's go ahead and shut this plane off. It's super easy to do. You just shut the fuel off. It just cuts out on you. Unfortunately, we weren't able to mangle the plane, so I know many people will be disappointed about that, but that's okay. Me too. All right, folks, have a lovely evening. Please stay safe, everybody. Obviously, it's the holidays. Follow the news, and keep an eye out for probably a poll in the next few days asking where we go next. Otherwise, have a great night, everybody.